The Cabmen's Shelter by A.J. Allen. Have you ever noticed that the most difficult and troublesome jobs you have to do are always shoved onto you by someone else? Things you would never dream of tackling on your own account. Well, I have, and I'm going to tell you about a time when I got properly landed. It was about 3 years ago. There was a man I knew called Martin. I didn't know him at all well. He was a member of my club, and we had occasional cocktails together, as one does. But that was about all. Quite a nice beast. Well, one evening he rang me up on the telephone and said he was in terrible trouble, and might he come round and see me. I said, "Certainly. How much do you want?" However, it wasn't a question of money, apparently. Something much worse. He'd tell me about it presently, and he came straight along. I sat him down in a chair and gave him something to drink, and then he told me all about it. He'd apparently got a friend who lived in the country, a Mrs. Wilson. This good lady was by way of being a leading light in her own particular county, and she'd taken it into her head to get up an entertainment in aid of a local charity. According to Martin, the whole neighbourhood round about was fairly seething with talent. There were any amount of people who knew they could play and sing and recite, and who meant to. So the first hour of entertainment was to take the form of a concert. That wasn't the worst. There was also in the district, in the actual process of being formed, an amateur dramatic club. Mrs. Wilson had somehow been blackmailed into allotting the last 2 hours of her programme to this amateur dramatic club. They were to do their first play. I agreed that it all sounded pretty deadly, but what was Martin's, particular trouble? He then confessed that in a very weak moment he'd promised to write the play that these people were going to act. I said, "Well, have you written it?" And he said, "No, that's the milk in the coconut. When I said I would, I hadn't tried, and now I've tried, I find I can't." I said, "Well, it's something to have found that out. Lots don't ever. But why not tell Mrs. Wilson, that you can't manage it?" "Oh, no, that wouldn't do at all. There were reasons, or rather a reason. In fact, he was rather mashed on Miss Wilson, and wanted to get engaged to her. And if he backed out, it would ruin his..."
Sample complete. Ready to continue?